Hello, everyone. We're back. Welcome back to Creative Conversations. I am Michael Shaun Corby. You might know me as the NAHA chairman, or maybe you've seen me host the awards, or maybe you've been on the red carpet. I do love to see all the things you're wearing there. I'm also the Global Education Ambassador for Amica, specializing in education. But it's not about me today. This is the relaunch, the reboot, if you will, of Creative Conversations. This is the show, the event that will happen with many artists that actually brings you closer to the artist. These are casual conversations. We talk about their entries, their process, and in this case, with this series, their wins. What does it feel like to bring home the NAHA? And also, after such an amazing show, after such an amazing night, where I often ask people, what did you think of NAHA in Orlando this year and next? Everyone said it was like the return to elegance and class. And we couldn't be more excited about that. And we love that feedback. So keep bringing it to us. So from that night, we had a conversation ourselves and said, let's bring in some of these artists that made the night so special. I also, before we will get started, I want to say a big thank you to Leslie and Emily and the entire PBA staff for your tireless work to not only make the awards happen and the show happen, but these creative conversations. We're just so grateful for all the work you do. So that's setting up the show, rebooting the show. We're glad to be back. We have much more to come. So let's get started. So our first guest on Creative Conversations, Stephen Moody. You know him from his many years of experience. He truly is iconic and legendary in the industry. Currently, he is the artistic director at John Paul Mitchell Systems. And this year, and in 2021, he was crowned, awarded the prestigious North American Hairstyling Award winner for haircutting. He's a professional educator. He is, working with over 30 years of experience, even though he looks very young, you would never believe it. He's worked with Sassoon and the academies and was really instrumental in developing and managing that process. So I'm excited to talk about that as well. So without further ado, I am honored to be in the company of this industry legend. Welcome, Mr. Moody.
Hi.
For your win.
Hi, Michael Shaun. What a lovely introduction.
Well,
And you know what? Before we get started, I just want to say what a great idea this is to bring back all the people who were celebrated in Orlando
yeah.
and do this kind of casual chat. I think it's a really
Yeah.
great idea.
And I love that you're doing it from a casual cafe. You have a saying about office, right? What is it? What do you need in an
I
office?
do. I do. All I need to work these days is electricity, Wi-Fi, and a damn good coffee.
Yes.
And I'm at Calabasas in Calabasas, which is my home. A wonderful cafe called Peddler's Fork,
Or your office for the day.
and they do coffee refills, Michael.
And nobody does that anymore. So I love it. So before we dig in on all things NAHA, could you tell us just a wee bit about the younger Moody? How did you get started in the industry? What were some of those decisions along the way that led to where
Yeah.
you are today as our, two-time haircutting winner in just a
Ah.
4-year span or 3-year span?
Yeah, Michael, I'm really happy to share that. I mean, basically, I was born above a hair salon. My mum's a hairdresser. She kind of I was raised in a hair salon. It was a teeny tiny 3-chair setup, And as a small child, when I was like 3 years old or something, she took off to visit a guy in London and figure out how to cut hair.
Yeah.
She was doing roller sets and updos and Jackie and Assis. And she went and spent 3 months with this guy in his salon and picked his brains and learned how to cut hair. And this man's name was Vidal Sassoon. And this was
Oh,
before there was any academies.
wow.
He only had one salon. And as a kid growing up in the industry, I kind of was raised in a hair salon. And
Yeah.
I think, pretty early on, I decided I wanted a career in hair. But I think the tipping point was at age 13, she took me to a wonderful hair show called Salon International,
Uh,
which is arguably the biggest and most prestigious
it's a
event
gorgeous
in the
show.
hairdressing globe. And I just, right there, Mike, I just saw these wonderful creatures that just had amazing makeup, amazing hair. There was, abundant energy. And
Yeah.
these wonderful, wonderful, exciting people were called hairdressers. And I think at that point, I kind of made a mental decision at age 13 that I wanted to have hairdressers as my customer, as opposed to Mrs. Smith.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, so I did a lot of learning in my parents' salon, but eventually at age 20 moved to London and worked in Sassoon salons, in Sassoon
Wow.
barbershops. I worked in Germany and Manchester,
Wow.
but eventually had my goal set on being a full-time educator, teaching professional hairdressers. And
Yeah.
that kind of started I think 82 is when that started.
Wow.
In 87, I was transferred from London to Los Angeles and emigrated to this amazing, amazing country. And I've never looked back since. And 32 years at Sassoon, 10 years at
Wow.
Weller, and just celebrated my 2-year anniversary with a wonderful organization called Paul Mitchell.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Paul Mitchell, the company where nobody ever leaves. They're so happy. So
It is, I mean, it's like Disneyland. It's the happiest place on earth. And
that's
I've had a
amazing.
great time at Sassoon. I've had a great time at Weller, and I'm having a great time at Paul Mitchell. And the main reason is, Michael, that I'm able to connect with hairdressers.
Yeah.
So what really fries my onions is when I can get with hairdressers and raise their game and help them make more money, be more successful, be more confident. That's always been my goal because, yeah, Vidal did it with my mom when I was a kid. And I just watched this magical process called
Yeah.
education.
The
So
education and revolution, and Sassoon is big here, and I have several questions I'll get into. He's big here, the academies and the schools, but it's a godlike status
it
everywhere else.
is.
It's
Yeah.
and that it continues to this day. I know you had a big part in that, so
Well, it's
congratulations.
really funny, Michael, because I was actually having this conversation in San Diego at the weekend. I was doing some education down there at the weekend. And there was some kind of younger team members in the audience. And when I said Sassoon, I could see their eyes glaze over. And they were just a tad sort of confused. And I made the analogy and I said, what's the number one computer company in the world? And everybody put their hand up and said Apple.
Yeah,
And I said, who is the founder of Apple? And they said, Steve Jobs.
right.
I said, well, in many ways, Apple is Sassoon
Yep.
and Steve Jobs is the man, is
Vidal
Vidal
Sassoon.
Sassoon. And,
Yeah.
so that was kind of a really interesting conversation. And I think, I know there's a lot of younger people going to be watching this. A word of advice I give them is, if you really, really want to know what's coming tomorrow,
Yeah.
study yesterday. And there's
Absolutely.
some incredibly iconic people that have come before us
Yeah.
that have made indelible marks. And I think, yeah, to really know what's coming down the track, look at what's already been down the track.
Yeah. Learn the
Is
Fab Five, if you will.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Speaking of the younger generation, I love that for your 2024 haircutting haircutting stylist, hairdresser of the year. Congratulations. Um, you made it a collection, right? And you gave it a hashtag, I own me. And so I'm dying to dig into this a little bit. I've often thought, I've been around with NAHA quite a long time. I've often thought that maybe we should ask people for a name of their collection or a bit of inspiration at some point, because I think everybody's got a story, right? And
Yeah.
yours is truly special. I'd love to hear about it.
Well, my journey started probably about 37 years ago, being involved with judging the British Hairdressing Awards, the Australian Awards, Hairbrained, Behind the Chair, Weller Trend Vision, Sassoon Academy, School Connection. So in one way, shape or form, over 30 some years, I've either been involved with establishing and setting up competitions or judging them.
Right.
And I'm a great believer in a phrase of mentor or enter.
Yeah.
Mentor or enter. So be part of the process, whether
Yeah.
you're entering or you're helping someone enter. But I'm going to be really honest with you. Over the years, I got a little bit despondent and kind of got a bit frustrated with what was winning. And I felt there was really a big movement towards Adobe and towards haircuts being done with a mouse. Stephen, what on earth does that mean? It means,
Photoshop.
yeah, anybody who's worth their salt can spot a photograph 100 yards away and they can see that it's been doctored.
Right.
And it's been doctored, and lines within the haircut are just too perfect. Hair's
Yeah.
not perfect. Hair
Ever.
moves. It's real, But when
Right.
that hair's cut with a mouse and
Yeah.
the bones are chiseled like granite and the neck looks like an alien, it kind of. So basically, I thought to myself, I'm done with this whole process. And then COVID came along, and I got this email that basically said, oh, we're looking for entries for NAHA. However, we can't have people get together with a model, get together with a makeup artist and a photographer because of
Yeah.
COVID. So then I got to thinking, well, Stephen, stop bloody complaining and do something about this. So I went through all my pictures of looks that I was really excited about.
Right.
And I looked at all the looks that had won in the past. And a
Okay.
lot of what had won cutting was straight lines. And I
Yeah.
thought, why can't I enter African American girls with big fros? There are
Right.
haircuts, but they're not straight lines.
Right.
It's texture.
2021. Woo.
Yeah, it's
So
hair
good.
that's diffused, that's blow dried. And when I showed this to my peers, everybody said, "Oh, you don't stand a cat in hell's chance. That should be in the texture category."
Right.
And to be honest with you, Michael, I wanted to poke the bear.
Yeah.
I wanted to make people think outside of the box. So that's what I entered in 2021. And I was blessed because the judges appreciated me poking the bear,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
entering with naturally curly African American fros. So then fast forward, I'd had this sort of idea in my head, Michael, crazy idea, probably for about 2.5 years. Why can't we enter with women rather than girls
Right.
and celebrate a woman's perfect imperfections
Yeah.
and celebrate that? And I thought, yeah, that'd be great. And what about doing women with gray hair that's enhanced with color, but really not hiding the wrinkles, not hiding their imperfections?
Yeah.
So then I went on this thing of building a mood board that, it's just this crazy, crazy mood board that involved, the type of model. So my goal was really a woman that was 45 through 65. I call that out on my mood board. I
Yeah.
actually ended up with 42 through 72
Yes.
with the spread with my models. And two of my models were naturally grey models. They were both hairdressers.
Yeah.
And my third one was my problem child. She was 72.
With the jet black hair, I saw the before.
She was only 5%
Oh,
grey.
wow.
So we made a grey. Yeah. And it was really cool. And I did a mood board for makeup. I did a mood board for photography. And
Yeah.
I had the most incredible photographer, David Reculius,
Yes.
who really made the models look, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here, weathered.
Yeah,
I,
because
I
there's a
didn't,
little scuff of mascara and
there is,
yeah,
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
And I went to, I'm getting off the reservation a bit here, but I went to Vegas on my motorcycle, and I stopped at this amazing diner called Peggy Sue's.
Okay.
And the waitresses in there are so, I'm going to be careful here, senior, these waitresses,
Yeah, yeah.
Elvis is playing in the background. They've got like these really sort of plasticky looking outfits, vinyl
Nice.
dresses, flesh colored pantyhose, the hair's all pinned up, and the makeup looks like it should have been thrown away 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I
A bit
thought,
of clump.
brilliant. Brilliant. It was all dry and powdery, and I thought, that's the makeup that I want. That's what I want to do. I want to poke the bear.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
do something different. And
Yeah.
you know what was amazing? I built this mood board, I put it on PowerPoint, and I showed it to the photographer, David Reculius. I showed it to Patrick, my makeup artist. I spoke to about 20, 25 models, all of whom I found at like farmers markets, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
half of them thought I was insane, when I showed them this. But I shared this mood board with everybody. I landed on my 3 models, and what was really, really amazing, Michael, and again, I would suggest this to anybody who's entering competition moving forward, is my 3 models really drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
They really were on board.
You can feel it.
So, Amber is a salon owner.
Yeah.
She's an amazing stylist. She's an ex-Vidal Sassoon colleague. She was a finalist in NAHA for
Wow.
Best Salon.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Heidi is a hairdresser. She was on board. And Terry,
Yeah.
my darker Hawaiian 72-year-old model, was just, they were
Gorgeous.
just so on board, and it was really exciting to do it. But the one thing I have to call out, Michael, is I'm just so appreciative for every NAHA judge for quote unquote getting my crazy idea.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I did enter, Michael, to be honest with you, in 21 and 24, and I'm thinking, they'll think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
People think I'm insane, stepping
Yeah.
outside the box.
Yeah.
And poking the bear. But I just want to thank the judges for recognizing my insanity.
Well, and I'll go back to 2021. Working on naturally curly, coily hair, I have a firm belief that texture is not about your race, right? And if you're gonna enter these type of awards, you should probably know how to work on every canvas. You should probably know the structure and how to shape it and how to cut it. What are your thoughts on everyone, regardless of where you grew up or what you've been doing your whole life, stepping up their game and really knowing all hair textures?
Yeah, so as you can probably gather, I'm English.
Yeah.
I learned my craft in London, and
Right.
when I came to the States, I was a little bit kind of surprised that there was Vietnamese salons and
Right.
that there was African American salons, because where I come from, there's hair salons,
Right.
and people go to get their hair done, regardless of what color the skin is or what type of hair they've got. So I was so blessed that I learned my craft in London, and I had to learn to do super tight curly hair, which in England is called Caribbean. But we didn't call it Caribbean hair, it was curly hair. And I had to
Yeah.
do fine, thin, limp Scandinavian hair, you know.
Yeah.
So I had to learn every single hair type. And again, you know, for people that are maybe entering the craft and learning the skill set, listening to this amazing podcast, I'd really suggest that that's what you do is, you know, really
Yeah.
look at doing different hair types and thinking of hair as hair rather than an ethnicity. Because when you have that approach, I think you have a broader spectrum. And, you know, in my mind's eye, saying Asian hair is like saying vegetarian. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
million different types of vegetarian. You know, I mean,
What
or
does it
Chinese
mean?
food. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
million different types of Chinese food. So, you know, hair is hair is hair. And I just have this amazing thought process. God put hair on top of our heads to keep it warm,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
keep our heads warm, or in some places cool, whichever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's hair, for goodness sake, you know. Enjoy it, work with it, and you know, push yourself. Really, really
Indeed.
push yourself.
And I don't really see that collection as poking the bear as much as you really making a statement that everyone can and should be doing this. This is haircutting. And from the moment I saw it come across, because I'm a judge, I no longer enter, I judge
Yeah,
only. And we, you know, since I came on board, it was a war on Photoshop. It was photographic editing experts equally on the panel as hairdressers and industry leaders. So that was very important to me as
yeah,
well, because I feel like if you Photoshop a cut, so what? If you Photoshop a color, so what?
yeah.
So I personally want to thank you for doing that. Are there places where those who are looking to expand their um, their skills with curly and coily and wavy, and as you said, some call it Asian hair. I say it varieties of, you know, curl patterns and thickness and density and so forth. Um, are there places where they can come learn from you these varieties of techniques for all hair types?
Yeah, there is, Michael, and this sounds like a commercial, and I don't want it to come across this way, but I've spent the last 18 months developing a new Paul Mitchell professional haircutting program, and it's launching January the 1st, 2025.
Okay.
It's a progression of certification that starts with self-learning.
Okay.
It then goes on to online Zoom education, and then eventually morphs into face-to-face education. And
Okay.
that covers different lengths, different textures, different ethnicities, covers suitability, lifestyle, everything that wraps around a haircut, including, you know, the one that makes us all money, which is not really haircutting at all. It's when we connect color to
Yeah.
cutting to styling. That's really where the money is. That's where the
Yeah.
bank account is.
Yeah.
And that's what this program kind of focuses on. Is it's a cutting program, but at the end of the day, it's also something that stylists can embrace and take on and help them with their clientele, help them with their retention. Something that I'm rabid about at the moment to shorten the visitation cycle. I think we've gone through 10 years of people getting their hair cut twice a year.
Right.
They're getting their hair colored once every 3 months. And I see that in the rear view mirror, Michael. And I see people coming back
Only
in.
this.
You got it. Center partings,
Get yourself
beachy
an air
waves.
wrap and you can go 12 months without anything.
Yeah. So, Michael, that's the equivalent of me going to my dentist and sitting
Yeah.
in my dentist chair and my dentist saying to me, Stephen, I know you've been coming 3 times a year to get your teeth cleaned,
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. Just come once every 3 years to get your teeth cleaned, you know. And oh, by the way, I'll give you this website where you can go and you can buy your own tools and you can do your own root canal. You do your own fillings and don't worry about it. You know, don't come back to me anymore. That's what we said to people. Come on,
You
let's
are
move
you are such a
forward.
great man, and we need to talk of how to get you and Paul Mitchell more involved with NAHA and PBA as well, because you are speaking our language literally as to the type of education we're looking. And now with your big NAHA wins, I think you should be more involved. I am cordially inviting you at this moment.
I'm
In
taking the hint.
somewhat new role. We want to see more Paul Mitchell there, um, because I think the company over the years with Robert Chromians and I remember Gene Braw. I mean, these are just legends, and so yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll reach out. I have a couple more questions, and then I just have a rapid fire. We try and keep these at 30 minutes, but we have such a superstar, so we're going a little over today, folks. So how do you stay current with the trends while also maintaining your unique style and creativity? Because I've stalked your Instagram. You always have your thing, right? Like glasses are a thing, right? Um, Dramatic placement of makeup, wardrobe is your thing. Can you share some of the ways you stay current on trends and sort of carve your own way at the same time, especially for those stylists who are frustrated where everybody just wants to be a Victoria's Secret model?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, to come back to the very beginning, Michael, I'm looking to the hairdresser. I'm not looking to Mrs. Smith.
Right.
So I'm always looking to do things like the NAHA 2024, things that shock and
Yeah.
provoke and inspire people, you know, and
Yeah.
then they can take those ideas, they can take those looks and maybe add a little bit of water, dilute them a little bit and make them work on the salon clientele. So that's always been my goal. How am I inspired, Michael? I'm inspired by kids. I'm
Yeah.
inspired by young people. I was working in New York 2 weekends ago. I glued on a couple of days on the front of my trip, and I just get a bicycle and I ride around Manhattan. I go to the Bronx. I just watch. I observe. I've got my phone. I'm taking pictures.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I'm looking at, Michael, I'm looking at kids that have maybe cut their own hair. And they're
Yeah.
16 and 17 years old. They've colored their own hair. They've made their own clothes. They've done their own makeup. And I look at it and I think, wow, that's pretty raw. I'm not sure
Yeah.
I can use that, but I can use the idea. I can
Exactly.
take that and I can twist it. I can
Yeah.
take that and I can adapt it. I can take that and maybe commercialize that. I can take that and I can translate it.
Yeah.
So for me, I just love seeing people do their own hair. Kids, you know,
Yeah.
raw looks. And the greatest fashion designers do the same thing. You know, they
Oh
walk
yeah.
down King's Road in London and they look at, you know, fashion that's just ridiculous. Next thing you know, that fashion's on the Paris catwalk.
Right.
Next thing you know, that's at Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
And that's the process. And for people that are listening to this and watching this, I'd really advocate that. I think the other thing I would say too, Michael, is be judicious with what you see online.
Yeah.
Everything that you see online, take it with a pinch of salt. Take it with a pinch of salt because there's a lot of what you see online that's smoke and mirrors. You
Right.
know, go to Chicago, go to San Francisco, go to Austin, Texas, go to New York City, go to London. I was in Tokyo
Yeah.
in November. And
Yeah.
again, you know, just some really raw
Pure
stuff,
creativity.
pure
Yeah.
creativity that's not really transferable. But if
Yeah.
you look at that and you close one eye and you squint, you can make it work.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And Cassie Carey, she's, a big NAHA winner, and she's, I'm guessing, in her 20s. Maybe I hope I'm not insulting or putting that in either way, but she's, compared to guys like us, she's so young and she's blowing up NAHA. And I
Yeah.
think, I fully encourage not only getting the younger view on all of our work, but getting younger artists in there, right? So we
Yeah.
can continue to see them at a higher level. I couldn't agree more. I like to do something fun in closing, and then I'll give you the final word, of course, Mr. Moody. I like to do rapid fire questions. I've always been inspired by these. So you're just going to say the first quick sentence or two that comes to your mind to each of these questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What's the best compliment you've ever received?
The best compliment I've ever received is what you shared with me. I can use it tomorrow.
Ooh, I like that. When are you the most inspired?
In my shower.
Oh my God, I've been doing shower manifestations for like 20 minutes. I literally can take on the world after being deep in thought, butt ass naked in a shower with hot water. So there's
We need
something
to
to
shower
that.
together.
Tune in for part 2 of the series. Okay, something a little safer here. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Same. I'll take fries over cake any day. What song can you listen to on repeat?
What song could I listen on repeat? I would have to say anything from Echo and the Bunnymen.
Ah, good band.
Anything.
Good era. Definitely. Are they
The
still
best.
around?
Yes.
Still?
Ian McCulloch.
I would go to a show. I also, a friend of mine, a colleague, saw Depeche Mode in Florida in what looked like a Marriott banquet room with carpet. You were right here to them. I'm like, I remember Music for the Masses, where it was like, bring a canned good to the Rose Bowl and see them. It was packed. And they're still that popular here in Los Angeles. So I'm ready to see some of these bands.
Mike, if I can go off the reservation here, makeup, hair, music, sex, drugs, can't beat the 80s.
Yeah, at all. I mean,
the best.
I was just explaining the other day the level of creativity. It was like I worked in Beverly Hills at much of the time, and I could perm the hair, give it a fry light right over the top, cut it all off with clippers, leave bits and bobs hanging, right? And she'd just put on giant fringe earrings and shoulder pads and say, I look amazing.
Yeah.
It really was a different time. People think the level of creativity is the highest now. I'm like, you have no idea. It was
Girls on film.
It's all there, exactly.
Girls on film.
Girls on film. Okay, what makes you smile the most?
My goodness, what makes me smile the most? I think seeing hairdressers empowered.
Yeah.
Seeing a hairdresser empowered. Putting down breadcrumbs, having them pick up the breadcrumbs, having them embrace those breadcrumbs, and having them run.
Yeah.
That really empowers me. Watching others be successful.
Yeah. Not only seeing the lights come on, but see them carry the torch. I couldn't agree more.
Make money. Make money, Michael. At the end of the day, we're here to make money.
And amen. And one last question. What is one thing, although I feel like we've learned a lot about you today, what's one thing people don't know about Stephen Moody?
The one thing that people don't know about Stephen Moody is I live in Los Angeles and I don't own a car. I have a motorcycle and no car.
Oh, I don't even have that. For 15 years, I haven't had a car. That's why I live in West Hollywood, so I can walk everywhere.
There you go. Yeah.
The man takes a motorcycle everywhere. I again stalking you, Yosemite and Big Sur, and everywhere you go. It seems like a magical way to do it.
Oh, Big Sur is my bolt hole.
Yeah, it's just
I'm going there next week. I love Big Sur. Puts
gorgeous.
my head straight.
And Esalen near there, if you ever get a chance to
Oh,
be a hippie again.
love it. Love it.
So I will, sir, give you the final word. Before that, I just want to say thank you so much for such a great kickoff to Creative Conversations. This is really what it's supposed to be about. It's casual. I had 30 questions to ask you, but we just went with it. And I really love this. And when these post, I encourage everyone to get in there with your engagement, ask questions of Mr. Moody or myself or the PBA. So I will let you take it away, sir, and give us just your final thoughts before I sign off for the day.
So, Michael, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank the whole team, Leslie and the whole team at PBA for putting all of this together. I mean, looking at NAHA from the outside in, it looks pretty straightforward, but I know you on that stage and the whole team behind you, there's a lot of energy, effort, and time that goes into making this the #1 hair competition in the USA. But I'd also like to just send a little message to people, and it comes back to what I said earlier: enter or mentor.
Yeah.
And believe me, if you're entering, you don't need to have a big budget. You don't need to have a professional photographer, a professional makeup artist. You don't need professional models. Start at a grassroots level. Everybody's got one of these.
Yes.
And the camera that's in here is 100 times better than the camera that I started with in 1980. 100 times better.
The
And
Minolta.
this thing will never ever run out of film, which my camera did when I
Right.
first started. But yeah, go for it. Do something every day that scares you.
Yeah.
Entering NAHA scared the crap out of me, but it made me 2 inches taller.
I like that. I like that. Well, I want to thank you again, Stephen. Yeah, I can't wait to chat with you again. I'm serious about a part 2, maybe Sun's shower. But it's just been such a joy. To all of you watching these conversations, did I promise a good kickoff? It just gets better and better. More exciting announcements. I am lining them up back to back. Incredible artists coming your way. I want to thank you. I love mentor or enter. I think we should just make that a part of our creative conversations. If you're looking to enter, if you're looking to mentor, if you're just curious of how the whole thing works, you've heard about mood boards, you've heard about inspiration, you will get it right here on the Creative Conversations. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you to PBA. I'm Michael Shaun Corby, and I will see you soon in the Creative Conversations. Thank you again, Mr. Moody.
You're welcome.